Oh, hello there. Hello there. Oh, you're really big and strong. You're big and strong. I think you're pretty cute. I think you're pretty cute too. We should kiss. Oh, yeah. Ooh. Oh, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're debriefing World's Strongest Man 2025. Man, what an exciting year this year. I think with the rules changes, some of the different setups, it was such an exciting finish and such an unexpected ending. Who predicted that? I certainly didn't. So let's break it down. But I'm super excited for once it comes out in the USA in the summer to watch all the heats. I think, you can only do so much in terms of watching it through social media, through the guys' YouTubes, through the spreadsheets. But man, what a close finish. Some good upsets and so many unexpected things. So let's get into it. So let's talk about my predictions. So in terms of predicted, so I had 10 guys in the finals. I only guessed 5 out of 10 right. So that was of course Mitch, that was Tom, that was Trey, that was Shane Flowers, and that was Pablo Cordiaca. So the other 5 I did not have in my finals. A couple notes, kind of when I saw, for instance, I saw Mateus potentially not feeling great, or just the first 2 events were a little slow. And then I was like, this opens up the door for Reno. And Reno already started kind of pretty hot right there. I had him originally 3rd in my group, but the minute Mateus wasn't there, but he exceeded all expectations the whole weekend. What a great athlete. We'll get into it. Looking at, of course, 2 unfortunate incidents and accidents when it comes to Luke Richardson and Evan Singleton. It was crazy that ended up being on the same bag. I ended up kind of hurting my bicep on the same kind of setup, but it was already hurt going into it. So I think it's a little different than what these guys had to experience. But that did open the door a little bit. The minute I saw that, I was like, Andre Fortu making the finals. And then when it came to Evan Singleton, originally I had Singleton and Pavlo making the finals, but ended up being more beneficial for Pavlo because Luke ended up winning winning the group, and then Pavlo coming in second. So speedy recovery to those guys. Of course, especially Luke. I competed with him recently. Such a great competitor. So really looking forward to seeing him back. I know he's going to take some time and chew on it. It seems like what he wants to come back to in terms of competing. But I think once he feels healthy and the competitor in him will make him want to come back. And then, hey, Kitty, I'm doing a thing. Kitty, shut up, Kitty. So going into, let's breaking things down. I just wanted to point out let's just start with the elephant in the room, Mr. Reno Nell. Great weekend. I know he was going to be a problem. I didn't think he was going to be that big of a problem once he made it into the finals. He kind of just really showcased. He was super athletic. Ended up, of course, great deadlift. I seen him do a really heavy 18-inch pull. I think it was one of the SCL shows. I think it was South Africa SCL. Because there was a few guys, a few of my buddies competed in that, and that I think he pulled up 480 in that show and ended up pulling 490. So I wasn't surprised with that 490 pull. I expected him to do a little better on the behind the neck jerk, especially after what he did in the heats, but that was still surprising. And then I think the stones was the biggest thing because I only found one example of him doing stone series in Strongman Archives. Maybe he trained a lot, or maybe there's contests that he did that didn't have an Atlas Stone series or Atlas Stones in it. Of course, he had a great run doing natural stones, but they weren't quite the same height and, of course, the same weights, and had to walk it up. So I wasn't really sure if when he was going into the finals, he was in first place by 2.5 points, so he had to at least get 3rd in order to clinch the title. I wasn't sure if he was able to pull it off just with the great group, but he was able to beat Mitch by less than a second and pull out the win over Tom Stoltman by 0.5 point. super exciting. So one thing I wanted to kind of note, I think I'm really thinking ahead of myself. So probably should talk about this at the end of the video. But let's talk about it now. This makes it kind of like 6 active World's Strongest Man competitors going forward. And I'm saying active because Martin still has, he said in recent talks, that he still has desire to come back and compete.
On my journey back to Worlds and Arnold's. All right, well, that's a little bit of a lie. I've actually been at it for a couple of weeks now. But those were just kind of playing around, seeing where my body's at. And
you know, Novikov's a little banged up, but he has desire to come back and compete. And then you have Thor, you have Reno, and then you have Mitch and Tom. So all those guys are coming back. Shut up, Kitty! All those guys are coming back, and they're just ready to go. So the fact that we have 6 former World's Strongest Man, I'm not sure if there's been 6 active-ish, let's say active-ish, 6 active World's Strongest Man competitors in a single era. We know we had 5 at the Arnold 2024 that one year. Of course, Mitch Hooper ended up winning. So it will make things pretty interesting. I'll go over kind of my podium predictions. So I was a little bit correct. I did have Tom, I had Mitch and Trey 1, 2, and 3, but they ended up being 2, 3, and 4. So I was close in my predictions there. I got a lot of slack for having Haddon outside, not making it out of the group stages. But I think it was just more of he ended up scoring pretty high when you show all the guys together. But I think it was more of just the matchups he was, and matchups are everything. Especially with the guys he was in, he just had a lot of elite movers and some really good throwers in his group, and then plug that into Reno, who was kind of an unknown. So he's, of course, World's Strongest Man, but he was seeded as probably like a 4th or 5th guy. So it's made the group super competitive. So I know that like Lucas will take this experience and come back, and I bet he makes the finals next year. But it's one of those things where I knew it was going to be hard for him to make the finals. So the last thing I'll say about Reno's finish is that it was the biggest surprise since, I think, Magnus Magnuson. I know Yuko Alla also did the same thing in terms of his first appearance, his rookie appearance at World's Strongest Man 97. But like Magnus Magnuson, he came as like a reserve and then ended up getting in and blown away the show. So I think it's the biggest surprise, especially modern day strongman, where social media is so prevalent that like if someone's really that strong, they're not going to be overlooked. They're not going to be not in this contest. And then there was not a lot of data on Reno going in. There was some, but not a lot. But just him just going out and exploding, that was crazy. So I think it's the biggest surprise. And I'm really excited to see what he does next. He expressed interest in terms of doing Giants Live, so it'll be interesting which one he chooses. If I had to be a guessing man, he'll be at the one at the Royal Albert Hall, because that one usually has all the best guys from World's Strongest Man that following year. So looking at it, so surprisingly, I did some research on Strongman Archive. So Tom, Mitch, and Reno are practically all the same age. So Reno turned 30 about 10 days ago. Tom is going to be 31 soon. His birthday is later in May. And then Mitch will turn 20. He's 29 now, and will turn 30, I would say, in a few months. So all these guys are going to probably be competing with each other for at least the next 4 or 5 years, if they stay healthy, if they're still motivated. So that's going to be super exciting to see them at World's Strongest Man year after year. But for instance, like Trey's pretty much in that same group as well. He's done many World's Strongest Men, but he's turning 32 soon. He's 31 currently. Patty and Andre were the youngest ones at 23 and 27. Shane's 31. Pablo's 29. So again, all these guys are, I would say, relatively young. So again, we're going to keep seeing these guys year in and year out. Of course, rounding out the group, Luke and Eddie. Of course, Eddie's going to be 35 soon. Luke will be 41 later in the year. So how many more World's Strongest Man runs do we see Luke Stolman? We'll see. But the fact that Luke just somehow just finds a way to make it into the final every year. Just super consistent. super strong, and congratulations to Luke on a great show. All right, let's talk about Tom a little bit. So I think overall, I think Tom was probably happy with his performance. He seemed that even kind of after, just of course very congratulatory towards Reno. Even at the after party he was partying, I think he partied more at this year's World's Strongest Man, taking second, than he did when he took first last year, because I was at that party, and they didn't seem like it didn't seem as wild as it was this year, so I was a little bummed about that, but because I like to party. Who doesn't like to party? So, Tom had a great show. Talking about Mitch, I think Mitch looked like he didn't have that extra gear like he usually has. I was surprising that he didn't win his deadlift group in the heats, and then I was surprised that he wasn't up there in terms of like the top two guys when he came to the deadlift from 18 inches. He was pulling over 500 kilos. I think he did it a couple times in training. So it didn't look like he had that extra gear. Was it maybe all the recent drama that just caught up to him and just a lot to take in 3 weeks before World's Strongest Man, 2 weeks before World's Strongest Man? Possibly. I know that, like, for instance, if you look at his social media, he turned off all his comments. So I wasn't sure if those comments or all those items were getting to him, maybe just the reshaping of his life right before a huge contest. But the fact that he was able to do all that and still do fairly well, taking third, continuing his podium streak, is, of course, a testament to his athletic ability, but hopefully he can learn from the situation and keep moving forward. So going down the list, we got Trey as being the most static individual, winning the press or tying for the press and winning the 18-inch. So I was pretty high on Trey. I was surprised that he didn't do as well in terms on the Hercules hold. That's where he lost a lot of points. I think if he did better like he did at that Giants Live Glasgow show where they had last year, where they had the Hercules hold, if he had a performance like that, I think he would have surpassed Mitch and took in third and got his third podium. He got his first podium, but I think this is his third time taking fourth at World's Strongest Man, so that's a huge testament to see. I'm pumped for Patty. I think it's of course just a great story. So Patty wasn't even selected for Europe's Strongest Man. He came in as an alternate, blew everybody away, taking second, and then had a great heat. I think with him, I even had him. I predicted Patty somewhere around third, behind Rag and Mitch. So when I saw kind of Rag having a tough day, and then Patty, I was like, man, if Patty presses the stone, he's in. And then I wasn't really sure what the weight of the stone was going to be. I was guessing it was going to be like 140, but it ended up being about 132 or 270 pounds. And I'm like, when I saw those numbers, I'm like, I think he has a shot of making it. So, Patty, I'm sorry I didn't have you on my original predictions, but you proved me wrong. You did great. Very proud. Andre 42 had a great show. I know that, of course, he was in the group with Luke Richardson. Of course, going up against his coach, I probably was pretty tough. But when Luke Richardson went down, I thought Andre was going to be the next guy that kind of filled in. And originally, I had him third in my predictions in that group. So looking at Tristan Hoth, so Tristan, I think was the best guy in the heats that didn't make the finals in terms of the total points. But Tristan had a very good show. I think he was caught in just a really tough group, and I hope to keep seeing Tristan in more items. Of course, super pumped for Eddie Williams. Of course, every year at World's Strongest Man, he keeps getting better and better. Last year, he had a battle with Luke Stoltman with the stone off, and then this year he was able to capitalize and make it to the finals, and I think it looked like he probably had the most fun out of everybody over at World's Strongest Man. Initial thoughts, I'll probably have more thoughts when the videos come out, but I'll be watching all of them, and I'll be super excited. So again, congrats to Reno Nell, congrats to the podium in terms of Mitch and Tom, and what will be next? I think what's the next competition people will have their eyes on? Will it be the Strongman Classic over at the Royal Robert Hall, or will it be something else? It'll be pretty interesting. But those are my thoughts. I love the show. I hope it continues. Sounds like it's back in Myrtle Beach next year. So we'll see what happens. We'll see who qualifies. Will I be there? We'll find out. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, notification bell, so you know when all the videos are coming out. Keep your eyes out for some instructional videos, some videos in my members section. And until next time, everybody, stay strong.